Imagine a world where every mundane task you do is automated. Think about all the additional time that you would have. Raise your hand if you have used AI. Raise your hand if you have used AI in your day job. Perhaps I would have seen more hands if your colleagues or managers were not around. AI, or artificial intelligence, is nothing but an extension of technology and machinery. Technology and machinery are a part of our evolution as human beings. We use technology, machinery, and by extension AI primarily for 3 reasons. Firstly, it reduces human error. Who wants to make mistakes? None of us do. Secondly, what it does is because we now have a reduction in human error, we have additional time. With this additional time, we can now innovate, be creative, and think beyond. So we now have enhanced outputs. This technology, or this connection of technology, is applicable to any part of our life, and particularly to any facet. One of my hobbies is cooking, particularly cooking Indian food. An essential base ingredient in every single Indian dish is onions. No matter how much I enjoy the process of cooking, a task that I often find dreadful, and sometimes even tiresome, and makes me want to peel my skin, pun intended, is chopping onions. So as my journey of evolution continued with the hobby of cooking, what I realized is this new tool called the food processor. The food processor, what it did for me is it eliminated the mundane. It saved me my tears. It saved me from a lot of blood. It saved me from having a part of my fingernail in there, or a freshly manicured nail part in there. None of us want any of that happening. Using the food processor did not eliminate those possibilities. I'm not saying that. I still shed a few tears. I still have occasional minor cuts. However, what it did is it significantly reduced the probability of those events occurring, which reduces human error and saves us time in the long run. The inclusion of a food processor does not enhance the quality of the dish. Or in other words, it doesn't necessarily enhance the quality of the dish. However, it gives us, the humans, the possibility, the room and the time to think with our intelligence, to experiment, and be creative. Through the automation of chopping onions, I, the human, now have more time to do 2 things. Firstly, I could either make more dishes, or secondly, what I could do is enhance the dish that I already have in hand. How do I enhance my dishes? I add different flavors to it, or different tadkas, as we call it in Indian cooking. Now my focus has now shifted from the precursor task of chopping the onions to move on to the task of the actual dish and the impact that it has, which is the quality and the taste. This need to shift our focus is furthermore necessary in education. That brings me to how do we use this in our classrooms. So what is happening right now is we're finding ways to innovate, and we need to find ways to automate with technology. As educators, it's important that we embrace automation. Business analytics classrooms typically have a 90-minute session. The first 30 minutes is usually spent using our human intelligence, thinking about what is the problem. And we come up typically with 3 solutions. The first solution is what we would call the baseline solution. This is the most simplistic approach one could take to solve a problem. The remaining 2 solutions are the enhanced outputs, or in other words, the flavored solutions. The next 45 minutes of the class, traditionally, would be focused on building the code. This is 45 minutes on a good day. The last 15 minutes of the class would focus on talking about, if we didn't have the constraint of time, what could we do further? What's happening here is we have an equal split of the time we're spending to build and the time we're spending to drive impact. This is fundamentally flawed. And the reason is the impact is the only thing that matters, particularly for business analytics. We need to now shift from going from 50% of the impact to 75% of the impact. What's happening is our students who are non-technical, they are spending a lot of time thinking about how to code. The learning curve for them is extremely steep. And oftentimes, we see that retention reduces. Non-technical students are often new to programming languages. Programming languages are very intolerant as compared to natural languages. They follow a set of rules and syntax that need to be followed for the code to run. The second reason that this is flawed is because we're only able to come up with the baseline solution. What that means is we're only able to come up with a solution for the first idea. These two put together are stopping us from innovating. What's important here is that this gap is going to continue to increase. Because our classrooms have this 50-50 split, this is translating to semester projects. This is translating to the industry. According to the Data Literacy Project in 2020, only 21% of global workers feel confident in their data literacy skills. Data literacy includes the ability to read, analyze, work, and argue with data, as I am right now. This shift needs to occur even more, because in our industry, we are seeing 96% companies investing in data initiatives. However, only 26% of them are able to transform this into a competitive advantage. This gap is not going to decrease unless we as educators move our focus into embracing automation in classrooms. How do we embrace automation in classrooms? Particularly with automation, what I'm talking about is the tool of generative AI, what we all know colloquially as ChatGPT. The same 90 minutes is now broken down into 30 minutes using our human intelligence to formulate the problem and coming up with potential solutions. The next 45 minutes is where we as humans delegate this to AI. The 45 minutes is broken down into three things. Now we are going from 45-minute block to 15-minute blocks, where instead of one solution, we come up with 3 different solutions. The last 15 minutes is once again spent thinking beyond. What's happening with this in total is that this split has gone from this 50-50 to this 70-25. We are now partnering with AI and our human intelligence to drive innovation. In the same 90-minute session, instead of having one problem and one solution, we are now seeing one problem and 3 different solutions. The conversations in the classroom also changed. Traditionally, the questions would be, Professor, I have a syntax error. That basically means that it's a missing semicolon. Now the conversation has transformed more towards, the graph that I built here, the correlation does not make sense. Maybe I'll build another graph for understanding the better correlation. This is what is driving impact, and this is what we need to focus on as educators. A missing semicolon is not going to innovate, but a data literate student who is able to identify trends is going to innovate. So our role as educators is now shifting. we are no longer sages on stages. We now have to become facilitators for students so that we're enabling them to leverage collective intelligence, which is combining AI, artificial intelligence, and HI, human intelligence, to become partners in innovation. Thank you.